Hello everyone, and my dear subscribers. Gunslinger. She has extremely high DPS potential, is flashy, keeps your hands busy, and is an extremely cool class to play if you can stay alive. She is among the classes with weakest health and defense coefficients, and you cannot inflict any damage on the enemies if you're dead. So you need to especially be well aware of the raid boss's attack patterns and be able to find the right timing to inflict damage on the enemies. Plus, you have to switch between 3 gun stances while doing all of what I just said, which can result in occasional finger twisters. It happens to me a lot as I'm closer to the boomer side. But as a reward, if you're on the MVP screen with most damage dealt, you can win some praises like, oh, this gunslinger has good hands, which is probably why people play this class. So, there are 3 types of guns she uses, which are handguns, a shotgun, and a rifle. On the handgun skills, there are party synergy / utility passives such as decrease in enemy resistance to critical chances, self-attack and movement speed buff, and counter skills. Decrease in enemy resistance to critical chances means it's a debuff on the enemy and that your party members will get the same effect also. So, the main idea of our DPS cycle would be to use the handgun skills, then switch to another stance for about 2 skills, then come back to the handgun skills, and then switch to the other stance for the other 2 skills. You don't have to follow this skill cycle all the time, but it would be ideal as our handgun critical synergy only lasts for about 6 to 12 seconds, and also there are buffs every time she changes her stance. There is almost no lag to use a skill after switching the stances, so try to press the keys simultaneously. It would be ideal to use both Z and the X key to switch between the stances, but like I said, I am closer to the boomer side, so I only use the Z key. That was the basic concept of Gunslinger, and now let's move on to the 2 class engravings. The Peacemaker class engraving, the more common of the 2, allows you to use all 3 stances and gives according buffs every time you switch your stance. The Hunting Time engraving removes the shotgun stance but increases the critical chances of handguns and rifle skills. And here are the interesting stats. 12 users out of 100 top ranked users are using the Hunting Time engraving, and all 12 of them are using both the Peacemaker and Hunting Time class engravings combined. What this does, it removes the shotgun stance but combines the handgun and rifle passives of both class engravings, and it makes the Gunslinger control relatively easier than the Peacemaker style. Now let's move on to the commonly used skills of Gunslingers by stance. By the way, judging from their translation of skill titles for the Western release, I figured it would be best just to try and explain the skills with icons. The key skills from the handgun skills are the Helical Tracer, Quick Fire, Equilibrium, Quick Step, Rain of Bullet, and Peacekeeper. The Helical Tracer decreases critical resistance of the enemy by 10% for 6 seconds, and Quick Fire for 8 seconds, and Equilibrium for 12 seconds. The Quick Step increases the movement and attack speed by a certain percentage. So basically, you want to use one of the critical synergy skills, then use the Quick Step for your attack and movement speed buff, and then switch to the shotgun or rifle skills for optimum DPS cycle. Here is a difference of using a rifle skill with and without using handgun skills prior to. The difference is not huge, but it's there. The reason why Quick Step is important is because if you can utilize a skill pretty well, you can allocate some stats from agility to specialty, which basically increases the damage of all stances by percentage. And Quick Step will sort of make up for the lost agility. Rain of Bullet is the strongest DPS skill in the handgun stance. But I wouldn't max it out unless you're using the Hunting Time class engraving, because you're gonna have to allocate majority of skill points on the shotguns as well as the rifle skills. and the Peacekeeper skill is used for the counter. Let's move on to the shotgun skills. There are only 4 skill slots for shotgun skills and 5 to choose from. From the 5, there are 3 decent DPS skills. 1. The burst shotgun. 2nd, the extinct shells. 3rd, the Der Freischütz. The good thing about this Der Freischütz skill is that you can use the skill with level 7 mastery. While the first 2 shotgun skills have big damage boosts at the level 10 tripods, this one has a damage boost tripod at level 7. And the skill which fills the last slot is going to be the last meal. It's a filler skill, but it has destruction and neutralization perks as well as counter ability. Now let's move on to the rifle skills. There are only 4 skill slots and 5 rifle skills to choose from. Of the 5, there are 3 major DPS skills. 1. The focus shot. There are 2 ways you can go with this skill. The 2-shot version with less DPS and the 4-shot version with more DPS. For easier raids, I would go with the 4-shot version, but choose the tripod which allows you to switch direction. For more difficult raids, I would recommend the 2-shot version with quicker aiming. 2. The perfect shot. The damage of this rifle skill significantly increases when the HP of boss is less than 50%. 3. The target down. This skill is probably the strongest skill which a gunslinger has. You could use the semi-automatic tripod for quick 3 shots, but the extended magazine tripod does a lot more damage. For the last slot, you can choose whichever skill you want from the remaining 2. And this is what my final skill tree for the Peacemaker style would look like with 300 skill points. As for the hunting time style gunslinger's skill tree, max level 3 of the rifle skills, and then as follows for the handgun skills. For the helical tracer, tripod 2, 1 for the critical chance and increased movement speed, quick step, tripod 1 for the attack and movement speed increase, meteor stream, tripod 3-3-2 as a filler, somersault, tripod 2 for quicker skill execution, equilibrium, tripod 2-3 for the critical chance and the filler DPS, quickfire, tripod 1 for the critical chance, peacekeeper, tripod 2 for the counter ability, rain of bullet, tripod 1-3-1 for the strongest filler damage. One thing you have to consider when you're designing your skill tree is that you have to be alive to do some damage. If it's a strongest DPS skill tree which gets you killed, then what's the whole point? With that said, let's move on to the stats. The stats really vary depending on the person's preference, especially for gunslingers. There are some stats which could be affected by the relic set options, but explaining that would take another 30 minutes or so I'm just going to explain the stats. Primary stat for a gunslinger is of course the critical. Then it's up to the user's preference to allocate the stats on either specialty or agility. Although specialty increases the overall damage, no agility means more difficult time dodging enemy attacks and AoEs. So some people will allocate the specialty and agility somewhat evenly, or just go with agility. Very few of them will go with the critical and specialty build. They must have a lot of confidence with their hands. but it's really up to the person's preference and how much gold there is to spend, as the prices will vary depending on the stat options. The only tip I can give you is that it's an easy transition to go from slow to fast, but a difficult transition to go from fast to slow. Now let's have a quick look at the popular engravings for this class. And as a final tip, when you're using the Awakening skill, the buff of the stance will come into effect, meaning you'll get critical chance buff if you're in the shotgun stance, and damage buff if you're in your rifle stance. That's all I have for this video, and next video will be on Paladin. I was supposed to work on the Paladin as it won the vote, but Paladin is a work in progress as I put it on a Story Express event. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye bye.